Alright guys, welcome back to another stream, and in this one we are going to be modifying the media carousel. So I've written a new blog post. As you can see, I have been using an Apple Watch for some time. I thought it might be a good idea to share what I think about it, and yeah, here you go. There's another blog post in my blog if you want to read it. But today's stream is all about the media carousel, this component right here that allows you to scroll images left and right on a mobile device, on a desktop device, whatever. Currently, the image carousel cannot guarantee the first image that will be loaded in here is going to be the first image that I've specified inside the images list in here, inside the custom media carousel declaration in here. But in my blog, I say, I'll share the screenshots of my customized watch faces. The first one is the one that I use the most. If I can't guarantee the first one is going to be the first one that is going to be loaded, how can I make sure that this statement is always valid, right? So I have to make sure that the order for these images is always correct. Let me demonstrate you the problem. So let's disable the cache and let's refresh this website. You're going to see the first watch face has changed, and then refresh again. Well, the first one is showing correctly now, and then try again. Another watch face is showing up, and the first watch face that I want to show is this one, and in this case it's the second one, and I want to make sure that we maintain the order, and at the same time I want to keep this asynchronous. Like, I don't want to wait for all of the images to be loaded to render the component. I want to be re-rendering the component as soon as the image arrives, so I can start showing the user some stuff, even if it's not the correct stuff, before everything gets loaded. Okay, so how can we do that? So I have explored several options, and the best one seems to be to modify the media carousel in a way that it automatically inserts items into the correct places. Well, we're going to do some refactoring. First of all, this comment detects if the user is coming from an iOS device and show help text instead of scroll bar, because mobile Safari doesn't show scroll bars. This comment doesn't belong in here. It actually belongs in there. So let's start by cleaning this up a bit. And we don't need to have this function inside the use effects call. So let's move that there. And let's give folder as an argument in here. Okay, so that should clean up the use effect function a little bit. We want to maintain the order, right? And we have a list of images in here. And if we have a list of images, we know where to insert them, right? Like, the first image should go into the first place. And the way that I'm adding images right now is the first one to be loaded just gets pushed into the array. Whichever comes first will be first to display on the image carousel, and then the one after, and then the one after, but no order is guaranteed. I send all of the image requests at once, and the first ones that arrive back are the first ones that get displayed. So I kind of want to intelligently insert elements into their specific places. So how can I do that? Okay, so I have this array in here, and I just push the new stuff in, which I shouldn't do. I have access to the old array, and I should be changing this array in such a way that it cares about the indexes, you know? And my initial state is just an empty array, and I push things inside. So rather than this, I know what my array size is going to be, right? So if I split the images and get the length for it, let me show you an example in here. I have watch face 1 to watch face 9, and we have 9 elements in here, right? And if I split this with a comma, I'm going to have exactly 9 items in my array. Okay, so I know the number of items that I'm going to receive, and I know the index of those things, right? I have the map function in here, and the map function can give me the index property while doing the map iterations. Okay, so I have access to index in here, and I have access to size as soon as I have access to this variable. So that gives me an interesting idea. What if I can have a constant variable in here that basically gives me how many images that I'm going to have? So number of images equals images dot, well, it's probably, yeah, it's just going to be this thing dot length. Actually, there's an even better way to do this. Image file names. I'm just going to call this image file names, and I'm not going to access the length property. So I'm just going to split it by the comma in here, and then I'm going to assign that array into a variable called image file names, which shouldn't be confused with that one. And I'm going to use that in here. The index is going to be used somewhere else. So I need to change the initial state to have a predefined length array, if that makes sense. So I'll just show you. So I'm just going to have a new array in here, and this new array, this constructor takes the number of elements that are going to go inside this. So I can just say image file names.length, and this is just going to create an array with predefined number of elements. Now the dependency array is going to complain that I do not have image file names in my dependency array, but I don't want that because I don't want this component to re-render each time this changes. This is not going to change, right? Anyway, so we have a function in here. Let's put this in curly brackets and do something that looks like this. Return. So we have access to the old array in here, right? And to change the old array, I can do a shallow copy. Let's say constant previous equals just a shallow copy of the old array. And previous, this is where the index comes in. So we want to insert the image link.default in there, and then we're going to return previous. Okay, I'll explain what this does. So before, we just appended whatever image link that we got. The loaded image link that we just received used to get injected directly into the array, but now we get the old array, which is in the first iteration, it's going to be empty. Like the image gets loaded, knows its index, right? Because the map function just literally assigns it an index. And we just put the link of that specific image into the array in its specific index. So this will guarantee that we are going to have all the images in the correct order when they're loaded. So I'm going to get rid of this. This should work. And yeah, let's try it. Okay, so we got this. Cannot read property ends with of undefined. MediaCarousel line 55. Okay, so that's very far away from our changes. It's basically here. And okay, I see what the problem is. So when we create an array with 9 elements in here, right? Specifically for this example, but initially they're all empty, and the map function is trying to map empty items to these things, which obviously fails. There must be some sort of ends with, yep, there you go. So image relative length cannot be undefined because otherwise this is not going to work, and ends with function is going to complain that it cannot run on undefined. So we can add a new check in here. So we can say image relative length is not undefined, and if it ends with mp4, then do that. Okay, that should fix the problem. Okay, good. So now let's go to the watch faces. No matter how many times I refresh this website, I'm always going to get the first image, watch face 1, as the first image. That's very promising. Okay, that means I can publish this blog post now, finally. Yeah, that looks very good. And I think the implementation itself is very clean as well. We've just added these lines and changed how we initialize the array. So I'm going to push these changes and I'm going to publish the blog post. I hope you found this useful, and you're going to improve the website piece by piece. I have many other things planned for the next several months. Yeah, I'll see you on the next one.